My name's Cathy Millett, and this week we're on part 2 of my UK versus US modelling, and it's anatomy of an exhibition layout. So this week we're doing a deep dive into a UK exhibition layout. What do they look like, what makes them special, and how could you recreate the same thing? So first up, all UK layouts have a scenic area. It's just a given, isn't it? But it's how they do that scenic area that's very different to the style of layout modelling you might see in the US. So this is a typical scenic area. You can see it's boxed in, everything, all your attention is driven into the centre. Here's another one again, it's got boxing above and below, and it's got the middle section. This one doesn't have a backdrop, which is, some layouts do, some don't. What you'll have then is loads of off-scene areas. So this is where the Fiddle Yard is, and in this one they've put their name plates up, and that's a locomotive name plate, and everything is there, but you just can't see it because they want to maintain the mystique that the scenic area is all there is. So if we look off scene, and you can tell I've gone to a lot of shows behind the scenes, there's normally a fiddle yard. You can see this one on the left, there's the fiddle yard hidden behind some wood. Then there's a scenic area with a backdrop, low enough so the owner can see over the top. And then of course there's the tea and crisps at the front because supplies are really important. So what does this all mean? I'm going to walk you through just some terms that we're going to use a lot of, and then I'm going to demonstrate them to you with some photos and show you what they look like in reality. So Fiddle Yard. This is basically track that you can fiddle on. So it's easy to access and you can go and pick locos off, turn them around, do whatever you like. But your track is more or less fixed and you yourself do all the moving. You have a sector plate where it moves, and so your track can line up in different ways. You have a traverser, where the entire thing moves back and forth but parallel. You have a turntable, it's just like a railway turntable. You have a cassette, which is a piece of track in a box that you can take on and off. Or you might have a staging yard, which is more or less a fiddle yard, but it's so large you don't need to fiddle with anything, you just run them all into different tracks. So first up, Fiddle Yard. Now, this is a really small layout. What you see is what you get. It literally has buildings at the front, and then behind it, out of the main scenic area, the loco runs behind a building into this space, which is under the buildings that you see on the front. And if you want to change anything or do anything to that loco, you literally pick it off the track, you put it down, and you put another one on. A sector plate, like this one, spins. So if you look, very key to this, there's a lot of, the track isn't straight on it, and that's how you tell a sector plate from a traverser. The track is bent at the edges so that when you move it, it always lines up still. And you can't actually see the hole on this, but his hands are where the hole is. So when he spins it, you can see the hole's now on the left because I've actually changed sides. There's just one small hole, which is easily hidden in the front, and the train runs out onto this, and he can spin it back and forth. Now on the ends of each of these, you can see these giant knobs. Those knobs are taken away when the train is due to run through the hole. They are not taken away any other time because they stop your trains running off the end. And this is a much smaller sector plate. They don't have to be big, but you can really see the curves that he needs to be able to get them to line up. And he's got 2 tracks here, and they line up, and they can line up on either track and they spin back and forth. And probably this one may well go round full 360 so he can change direction as well. If you look at the nearest to you in the middle, there's a bolt like you might see on a toilet door. Certainly you'd see on a toilet door in the UK. And that is how the power can go. So you line up your track, you throw those bolts, and it keeps your track lined up so you don't get any derailments. And then you have a nice continuity for electrics between both sides. So also the electrical will run down through there as well. Now this is a traverser and a turntable. At the moment we can just see the traverser. And the hole into the scenic area is that small square in the middle to the right of the laptop. And this just goes back and forth. It doesn't spin or anything, so you can't turn your engines, which is why they've got a turntable. But there's 4 or 5 tracks, and each of those tracks can be lined up in turn with the hole to go out and with the turntable. So here's the turntable, and you can see on the turntable fix section, they have a little bit of a run around. So it comes in. You could see again the electrical with the bolts that go across, and then it's a really basic turntable, isn't it? It doesn't need to do anything amazing, it just needs to line up. It doesn't need to be electrical or anything, so they just literally line it up by hand and it can go down and then it can run to the front of the train. Another way, which is really common, especially on small layouts, is cassettes, and this one's just aluminium frame, and the track is actually the edge of the aluminium frame. So it's easy, it conducts, and you line it up, put it in, and they actually use bulldog clips to clip it in place and hold it. And that's it, it's very easy. You just pick it up and move it. And you can see on the left at the front, they've got loads of trains that they've got there. Now my only worry with this one is there's nothing at the ends. It's very easy for your train to come flying off. So this is another type of cassette, and he's got ends on his, and these ends, if you look at the right-hand side, you cannot come out of it because there's a wooden handle and then there's a wooden bit that comes up and down. And that wooden bit that comes up or down is down, so nothing can come out. If you look at the left-hand side, that wooden bit is clipped up, and so the train can come out and it won't be stopped by the wood. And I like this type of cassette because it feels much safer. And they even have really diddy ones. This is a wee diddy one for one end and only gets a loco and not much else on. Very common is run-through staging, and this is very common on larger layouts or people who just don't want to be fiddling with their stock. But it means you end up with twice as much trackage because not only have you got the scenic area, you have almost the equivalent length. And this one, because it's run through, it's in a huge loop. So your scenic area is one side of the loop and the other side of the loop is this staging. And what most people do when they have this type of layout is they actually operate from the front. So they're standing at the front of the layout to one side operating it. And they don't really go into the middle that much. And again, you can see that it's just a few turnouts. Very easy to use. Now, this is an even more interesting type of staging. So this guy, his trains, it looks really odd and it's hard to explain. If you look at the top middle photo, there's some things hanging down. His trains were on ribbons and they just literally went round and came off the bottom and hung upside down. And then they went around and came up the other side and were on the top again. And they just ran around. And this was an amazing layout. He had HO scale cyclists with the legs went round with the bike. And they were just stunning. And that's what the right-hand picture is actually the bit of track has a magnet underneath for bringing the HO cyclists. So this is an amazing guy. This is the blue tram and stuff like this. He's a beautiful model. I really like him. Oh, and here's the HO scale bikes. Yep, those legs actually do go round. Amazing. So what else do we need to talk about on layouts? Well, power. There's still a lot of DC, I will say, but there's a lot of DCC. You see some dead rail, not that much yet. And you see complete computerised systems. Well, we did have the Heath Robinson one before where he used a turntable to set everything going, but you do see complete computerised systems as well as those more quirky ones. Other details that are definitely there in a UK exhibition layout is lighting. You rarely see an unlit layout, and that's because the halls can be really dark and dingy. And they can be anything from fluorescent tubes to spotlights with more and more LEDs coming now. They're often an integral unit and they act as that framing, almost like the theatre pelmet at the top. They must be easy to transport. So they're going to be things that you can stick in the back of a van or car. So there's robust and often protected cases around your layouts. Everything has to be able to be picked up and taken around. So you'll see some people have wheels on them, some people have everything bolt together and goes into protected boxes. Some people just seem to carry them and hope for the best. You'll see nameplates on everything so that people know what the layout's name is, and you'll see skirts to hide the legs and to keep everything tidy underneath. Height. Well, most heights are about waist height. Some of them are higher, and it's really difficult. And I know people in wheelchairs struggle. So kids will often take a stool, and you can see in the bottom right, the kids are standing on their stools so they can see the NMRA stand in this instance. So here's some pictures of the lighting. We've got everything from a bit of jury-rigged LED strip. The guy was just building his layout, I think, as he came. Or the ones at the bottom are actually these beautifully modelled gantries with spotlights on. And they could put a spotlight on a building and really highlight areas of great modelling. Nameplates. There are some beautiful nameplates done. My favourite, which I actually have a photo of, was a saw, and it was a old-fashioned, really huge saw, and it was Camp 93, and they'd painted the name on it, and it was a huge double-handed, saw for chopping down trees, so it really fitted their ON30 logging layout. You see a lot that are in the style of the actual railway, the operating companies' style. So Llantwy there is an example of a very typical style you'll see, copying that particular signage. The couple at the bottom are from the continent, and they've got some beautiful just calligraphy. Even get some, this is a really cool one, Black Country Blues. Everybody loved this layout. It's a really outstanding layout. The other thing you see a lot of, which I hadn't really thought about it until somebody who was visiting from overseas pointed out, are badges. Now, every time you go to an exhibition, you'll be given a badge to say your layout attended. And you can see at the top, there's 5 badges for ones that they've attended. And at the bottom, you can see a few more badges. Now, I tried to avoid those in my pictures, struggling to actually find pictures with these badges in, but they are all over the place, and people spend a lot of time, and they'll display them somewhere, even if it's just the sides on the layout. Now, one feature of UK exhibition layouts is regular track cleaning. You clean your tracks several times a day, and the reason for that is they start off cold. There's a lot of cold halls that things are in, and they end up very hot and humid by the time you've got all the people in. So you get a lot of contraction, a lot of stuff coming out the air. So this guy's got his little power vacuum, and he will have been over with a sort of Bright Boy track cleaner as well. He'd done it just before. And again, another beautiful layout. So transport, definitely worth saying. This was probably one of my all-time favourites for layouts, but it was also very, very easy to transport. So he had it on wooden stands, just on a table which was provided by the exhibition. He literally folded down his 2 wooden bits, and it was on wheels. He put a cloth over the top and was ready to wheel it to his van in a matter of seconds. It was minutes, if that. And, I've been with my friend, and his layout broke down very, very quickly. We were up, loaded and ready to go in the car park 20 minutes after the exhibition ended, because by Sunday night, you're ready to go home. So do you want to find out more about the UK modelling scene? Well, I recommend you get some magazines. A lot of these are home layouts, but they will also go and do a lot of exhibition layouts. So Railway Modeller is the oldest one probably. It's been going the longest, and it has some great features, really, really good layouts. British Railway Modelling, Model Rail, Hornby magazine are also UK outline, and they're all slightly different, but they all do great layouts, and they're really inspiring, very, very interesting. Continental Modeller doesn't just do continental models, it does the rest of the world from the UK, and it's the sister publication to Railway Modeller. So Railway Modeller does UK outline, as do the rest of them really, but Continental Modeller does overseas outline, and that's where you'll see any US or foreign outlines. And you can see the picture on the front, so US, Union Avenue. Look on the internet, RM Web, Railway Modelling Web, huge amount of forums and interest if you want to go and find out more about UK modelling. UK Model Shops, if you look at ukmodelshops.co.uk, it has lists of all the exhibitions, shops, websites. It has a huge resource if you want to go and look at it. You can look at blogs. Chris Nevard's a guy who's in a lot of the magazines, and he's a great modeller, and I love his stuff, basically. And the magazines all have sites as well if you want to go and look at those. And this is my big plug. So in 2022, I am running with a group of people, so we are running a national convention in the UK. So this is a chance for all of those people who are overseas to come and see what it's like to model UK outline firsthand. We're going to have some great exhibition layouts at the show at the end of the week. We'll get to visit some, and it'll be a chance to go and look at all those preserved railways, look at the real thing, and really understand what makes a UK modeller tick. Now, if you're in the UK and thinking, well, that's all very well, but I already know what it's like. This is going to be something completely different because it's based on a US national convention. So there's going to be clinics on all sorts of interesting topics. There'll be tours to places, behind the scenes, hopefully in places you've not been to. So it's definitely worth coming for a day or two, if not the whole week, to come and get that just experience of a week of model railroading. So, a few punch points. Come and see preserved mainline, steam, diesel and electric. Visit railway museums. Come and see some UK layouts. Experience what a UK model railway exhibition is actually like, and visit some of the top tourist destinations as well. So that's it. That's my plug done. And that's my time up for my clinic slot. So at this point, I'd normally ask for any questions, but if you have any, put them in the comments below because I've talked about so much stuff. And I know that you guys have probably got loads of questions. So please put them below, and I'm sure this clinic will be on at future national conventions as well.